Okay, hi, I'm Nathan Van Schmidt. I'm a PhD student from University of California, Berkeley, and this is my 4th summer up at Sierra Foothill Research and Extension Center. I study the small wetlands that are in the foothills, like the one right out back here, and it's a pretty interesting system because it seems like we've had actually an explosion in the number of these small wetlands that are forming due to irrigation water. 2/3 of the wetlands in the foothills appear to be supported by irrigation water in some sense. So it's kind of this nice conservation success story. We've got agriculture that's actually creating new wetland habitats, which is really great because for a lot of history we've lost a lot of wetland habitats in the United States. And the main study organism that I'm looking at are black rails and Virginia rails, two small species of wetland birds that dwell on the ground and are highly secretive. They're so secretive that we can only really figure out whether or not they're in the wetland or not, what we call occupancy. And this is actually, we've been tracking the birds for over a decade now. I'm the 4th grad student that's worked on this project. So we have a decade-long data of which wetlands are occupied in any given year. And then we track what we call colonization, which is a wetland that was unoccupied becoming occupied, and extinction, occupied wetlands becoming unoccupied from year to year. And that's the main data set we have. And it's really unusual and exciting to be able to have such a long-term data set on agricultural private lands. So we're really grateful to our landowners that we're collaborating with to give us access to that, because this is a really unique system that's off of the big refuges, the Yosemites of the world, and looking at how really day-to-day agricultural users can help conservation out. The things that I'm looking at right now are two things. The first is called the rescue effect, which is this idea that if a wetland is occupied in one year and occupied the next, it might have actually gone extinct during the winter between our surveys and then have been recolonized by a bird. And this is really well supported in kind of the wildlife movement theory, but it's been very rarely documented for vertebrates and almost never for birds. So we're really excited to try and do that by conducting additional surveys this winter, which we just finished, and also next winter, to see if we can find sites that went extinct during the winter but that are colonized in both summers, or are occupied in both summers. And if we can, we should confirm what our data seems to be telling us, which is that the birds, or the wetlands that are most isolated, are most likely to go extinct. And that only makes sense if they're going extinct but then being recolonized when we're not watching. So that's one thing that we're looking at recently. And the other is really focusing on the drought, which is on everyone's mind. And as the birds are intimately tied to the wetlands and they need the water to be around, we're really looking at how the drought is affecting seasonal cycles. So unlike natural wetlands, irrigated wetlands tend to go dry in the winter when the irrigation water is cut off from the irrigation district, whereas natural wetlands tend to go dry at the end of the summer. So we have wetlands that are kind of reverse the natural seasonal hydrology, and what we're really interested in looking at right now is whether or not that makes a difference for the birds, if they might be using the irrigated wetlands in the summer when the natural ones are drying out, and then switching to the natural wetlands in the winter when the irrigated ones are drying out. And we might have kind of an interesting trade-off between these two that's actually allowing the birds to persist in this region when they're found almost nowhere else in the California foothills except right here.